Welcome to All Things Woman, where we discuss femininity, womanhood, and I give you overall life advice. If any of that interests you, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Today's live. When it comes to Shanquella Robinson, one thing we're not going to do. When it comes to Shanquella Robinson, there is absolutely one thing we will not do. I felt like I needed to make this video because of a comment that I saw in regards to Shanquella Robinson. And when it comes to her legacy, when it comes to her name, when it comes to us, one thing we are not going to do is to tarnish her name and use her as if she's some kind of verb. We're not going to use her as if she is someone that is used as an action word because of the negative things that happen to her. We're not going to do that because this young lady was not guilty of doing anything except for what most of us as women, especially women, have done. So I'm going to get into that because that really, I'll be honest with you, that kind of irritated me when I saw somebody say in the comments, oh, this is what they said in the comments. And I don't know where their head was at when they said this, but they said, oh, unfortunately, Shanquella Robinson is now a verb. Like, I don't want to get Shanquella'd. And that absolutely irritated me. That triggered me so bad that I had to give myself a day or so before I decided to either make a video or go live, because that just showed me, number one, how desensitized we become to foolishness. And secondly, that some women are not really wise in their words and how they choose to say things and how they choose to express themselves. So we need to get into that today. Good morning, Marcia Shabani. Hi, true, absolutely. Good morning, Brittany Thompson. Welcome back. What happened for her to her broke my heart. Me too. Me too. I'm just Janet. Good morning. This story is so sad. Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Miss Henry, welcome back. Welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you saying this. I'm Devon Severlin. Welcome. Yes, it's important that we don't become so desensitized to these toxic things that now we're using people's names as if it's some kind of verb or action word. She said, I don't want to get Shanquella'd. And I'm like, that is the most ignorant thing that you can say as a woman and as a person, because this was a young lady. This was a person that these things happened to her. And she was guilty of nothing other than being so sweet, so kind-hearted, so wanting to share her success with other people. And the problem is that she thought these people were on her side. And unfortunately, she learned that they were not. And that's where all of these lessons come in that I teach here on the channel and that many others have spoken about in regards to the Shanquella Robinson case. But this young lady, just to give you a little bit of history about her, she was actually, first of all, she was only 25 years old. She was only 25 years old, and she was already a woman who had accomplished so much. I believe she was in the medical field. She had boutiques and she had salons. So she was like a jack of all trades, as they say. She was doing a lot to be such a young lady. And when you are that type of woman and you have a little bit of naivete, and that's what she had, and that's not any fault of her own. It's just she was a decent person. And unfortunately, we live in a world where there are so many people who are not decent people. If you don't have that street smart, if you don't have discernment, you won't recognize when you have people smiling in your face but plotting on you behind your back. So if she was guilty of anything, it was only lack of discernment. And once again, that's not of any fault of her own. It's a rarity to come across decent individuals in today's world. Let me look at some of your comments. Sad, no justice. Yeah, Marsh Bonnie. From what I understand, these people, they call them the Cabo Six. I don't want to mention their names because they don't need any recognition. They're the scum of the earth. To me, they're still roaming free. Good morning, AW. Good morning. Good morning, Cozy. Wow, what happened to Shanquella was heartbreaking. Absolutely. Brittany Thompson, I'm a young girl just like she was, so this hits home for me. I'm 20, but she was like 25 or 26. I dealt with jealous girls in high school, and I'm very strict now about my boundaries. Absolutely. And what happened to her, I've made a video about this, and you can go back and watch it, about this secretly jealous woman. When women accomplish so much and you are so happy that you go out and you tell everybody about what you're doing, you often open yourself up to be the target of people's jealousy and envy. Now, in a perfect world, you would think that you can share your successes, you can share the things that you accomplish or the things that you want to accomplish with other people. But unfortunately, it's not like that. Unfortunately for this young lady, she had to realize that the people who were closest to her were actually against her. And I bet you those same people that did what they did to her, I guarantee you every time she opened a brand new business, they were probably around telling her how proud they are of her, showing their congratulations, acting like they are with her. And the whole time they were plotting behind her back. And that's where, as a feminine woman, as a wise woman, your discernment comes in. You really have to know how to read the people that you're around, try their spirit, read their energy, however you want to say it. But you have to know who you're dealing with. Because I guarantee you there were signs from these people before that happened. Again, none of this is any fault of hers. It's just the way the world operates, unfortunately. And that's why when you go to level up, when you go to do better for yourself in life, it might be a little bit lonely. And most people, when they're trying to do better for themselves, have you ever noticed people who have accomplished a lot of things? They're normally by themselves. They don't always have a whole group of people around them. They don't always have a lot of people, they don't have a whole entourage of people because they're trying to stay focused on the things that they're doing. So our number one mistake, and this is something we can learn from what happened to Shanquella, is that we have to learn how to be quiet. We have to learn how to truly move in silence, not just say it, but we have to actually do it. Because sadly, and because Shanquella was African American, she was Black and I'm Black. Unfortunately, in the African American community, even though this can happen to everybody, and I'm sure has happened to all races of people, but unfortunately, in the African American community, in the Black community, it appears that we seem to thrive on struggle. It appears that we tend to thrive on trauma bonding. And when things are wrong, that's when we're the closest. But then when things go right, that's when you notice the community is kind of broken up. I'm not talking about right as far as activism, civil rights, fighting for all kinds of causes. We will always create the illusion that we are together in some way until somebody actually starts to elevate. And that's where the animosity, the tension, the envy, and the jealousy comes in, especially in the Black community. As long as you're just talking about the things you're going to do, people will kind of ride with you a little bit. People will kind of, be on your side. But the moment you're showing progress, where you're actually transforming and changing and doing different things, that's where the claws come out, especially with women. That's when suddenly their mind changes towards you, their attitude towards you changes, where it's like, okay, one moment they were really close to you, and then now they can't stand you. They don't want to be in your presence. And when people act like that, especially women toward other women, it's because now they feel that you are a threat in some way. When a woman is jealous and envious of another woman, she cannot handle seeing another woman do better, especially if she perceives them as doing better than herself. And I'm almost positive that Shanquella Robinson, her so-called fake friends, and those people she went out of town with, they were probably masters at pretending that they were on her side. They were, of course, when somebody's first starting out, especially when you get a little bit of money. And this is another thing, especially younger women, younger people tend to do. When they get a little money, they start spending on everybody, taking them out. Oh, yeah, I'll buy you dinner. Oh, I'll buy you this. We're going out doing these things. So, of course, if you have fake friends, jealous people around you, they'll spend your money like water. Like that doesn't matter. Somebody being happy around you when you're spending your money on them, that does not equate to a real friend. A real friend is seeing you in the trenches, developing and going through that journey, and they're still with you. They're seeing how hard you're working, and they appreciate the time and attention that you're giving to whatever you're doing, not the people that are just around to blow whatever you worked hard for. So her friends, so-called fake friends, undoubtedly, they were around for the occasions, for the events, for the different things that she was doing, but they knew their end game was to humble her. And while I have said in previous videos, humility is something that I believe, just based on what I believe, is a good thing. We're supposed to have that. But there's something about people when they're jealous of you, they desire to humble you. And it comes in the form of trying to remind you of where you came from and wanting you to think that you're just this, you're just that. And that normally comes from people who lack self esteem, who lack hope. If you're a person of faith, if you lack faith, lack hope, then you're going to be dealing with people who want to see you have that same type of struggle mentality that they do. Now, I don't know this lady personally. I just know from the news stories and the different clips that I've seen, but she was doing a lot at such a young age. And normally somebody 25, between the ages of 19 and 25, they're still very immature in their mind. And these people were clearly immature and she was more advanced for her age, which is another thing. Ladies, don't feel bad for separating yourself from people who are not on the same page as you when it comes to what you want to do in life. When it comes to being a woman who's actually trying to better her life and do well for herself, you don't want to be around people who act like they have nothing to lose and they are not trying to do anything except for just exist. Like they're just taking up space, but not doing anything with the life that they've been blessed with. Especially some of these younger people. I'm not picking on the younger people, but I will say some, like I said, they're very immature. And for her to have accomplished so much at 25 years old, of course she's going to attract haters. Because at 25, 24, 23 years old, not saying anything about, it's not that way for all people who are that age, but most people that age are only thinking about being out in the streets, what concert I can go to, how can I look cute, and how can I, whatever, very shallow, superficial things. And she wasn't doing that. I guarantee you, these people, they were plotting on what they did to her the entire time. This is probably not something they didn't already have in mind. And this is where good mentors and where you having strong feminine presence, strong wise women in your life comes into play. She needed to have somebody around her that could see what she could not see. That's where having our older women who can impart wisdom into us, who actually have been through things and can see, don't hang around that girl because she's giving hater vibes. Unfortunately, there were things that I had to learn the hard way, but thankfully I had a lot of training because I was surrounded by a lot of women who were that loud, overbearing, had that hater type mentality. And I wasn't accomplishing half of the things, not even a quarter of the things that Shanquella was accomplishing. I'm young girl. AMB, welcome. It's a disgrace how she lost her life. These people were the epitome of jealousy. Absolutely. And the fact that some people want to act like jealousy and envy, like that's something you can just overlook, like, oh, it's all in your head. And people who typically think like that, they are normally the ones who have more of a bent towards being jealous and envious of other people. People who try to say things like, oh, ain't nobody thinking about you. Oh, you're thinking so high of yourself. Oh, who do you think you are? Those are normally the people who are the biggest haters and have the most undercover jealousy and envy on the inside of them when they say things like that. Because they want to believe that somehow we live in a world where everybody is just, ain't nobody worrying about you. You would be surprised, even if you're accomplishing nothing, if you even carry an air of hope. Some people are absolutely threatened by your potential. Like if you don't speak hopeless enough, you will have women who absolutely hate you simply because you refuse to give in to the hopeless talk, simply because you refuse to bond with them over struggle. And this is another thing that I believe, this is my opinion, in the Black community, we are so accustomed to bonding over struggle that when somebody starts doing well, it's like we malfunction. Like, oh, you think you're this, you think you're that. Oh, look at what this happening to them now. See, you wasn't like that before you had this. It's like they literally malfunction when people start doing better. And it's simply because a lot of people have been programmed to embrace poverty, to embrace hardness, to embrace struggle. Of course, in life, things are not going to be easy, but when people are trying to make life hard for you, that's a problem. When people would rather see you down bad, that's a problem. That's where you have to assess the circle and assess the people that you're around. And another thing, and I got this because I saw a clip of, Toya and Reginae Carter. I don't follow these things. Like, I don't watch these shows. I don't watch Love and Hip Hop. I don't watch all those shows, but I do see clips on YouTube and TikTok. And I saw a clip, this was recently, of Toya. Actually, she's still in communication with her family. Her family is in New Orleans. She's in Atlanta. Of course, she's rich. She has a lot of money. She has all these accolades, all this stuff. And her family is still very much just regular people. Nothing wrong with that. But the issue is that, once again, because of what she has and what she has accomplished, and her family are still just a typical family, and they appear to be struggling, that's their problem. If that's them, that's fine. But the issue is that now they're trying to make her feel bad in some way for how she is. And I noticed what I put in these other videos came to life in that clip. You just talk. This is what her sister Beatty said to her. Said, you just talk like somehow like you got this air. I don't know if it was her or it was somebody else. You got this air like you just think you better than everybody. And it's simply because Toya was saying something that made sense. I think she was talking about an event, and she said, I made this event. If you couldn't come, you should have told me you couldn't have come. That's class, decorum, and being considerate. And a lot of people who have the street mentality, they look at things like class, decorum, and being considerate as somehow acting like you're better. See, in the Black community, we're used to just showing up. I'll be there if I feel like it. I don't care if you spent the money or not. I'll let you know the day of. Inconsiderate. But then when you get to a point where now you're starting to do things in a more decent way, people who have that same kind of mindset, they're like, you're doing too much. I'll let you know. They don't give any thought to the fact that you spent money for the meals that they might or maybe not come eat. They don't give thought to the fact that you actually had to pay for a venue for them to come into. Maybe they'll come, maybe they won't, because it's the mindset. And this brings me to the point that when you level up in some way, you're trying to be better, you have to separate yourself from people who have that trash kind of mindset that, hey, it is what it is. I'll just, we'll say, edit it. Nobody has time for that when you're trying to do things in life. And I guarantee you, because this lady's focus, and it was showing by what she was accomplishing, and by no means, because I understand from my spiritual people, from my overly spiritual people who are going to say that having things doesn't mean this, doesn't mean that. That's not the point. Even based on those of us who are believers, who are Christians, we're supposed to do things decently and in order, which means having that, I'm just going to do what I want to do. I'll let you know. That's not okay. We are supposed to be a higher standard, but I'll leave that alone. But as women, when you're trying to do better for yourself, you're going to have people like that who do not understand, why are you so organized now? Why are you so focused on this? What does it matter? Because once again, they feel like they have nothing to lose. And people who feel like they have nothing to lose will absolutely help you lose everything. Let me look at some of your comments. Miss Henry, my blood relatives would be like, you work at the library or you are a teacher. What are they trying to make the difference? Yeah, they try to, and it's amazing. You ever tell like people when they're trying to come at you, when they feel insecure, when they feel like somehow they feel intimidated or threatened by you, they will say any little thing that doesn't make sense simply because of how they're feeling about them. Like, you don't have to do anything. And it's like, where did that even come from? I had relatives that were like that too. And thankfully, now we're more distant, because every time I was around that person, they would make me more irritable. They would make me feel like, you get that very melancholy mood where you have like that heaviness where it's like, okay, you don't want to do nothing. Like, they just completely soured your mood. And that's how, nobody has control over you. But if you surround yourself with negative people so much, that will begin to rub off on you. They will take your desire to want to do or accomplish anything completely away from you. Above Ruby's TV, and they're demonic. I believe that. I believe that people who only want to be around you when things are wrong in your life, who get joy out of that. We all need people around us when things are going sour for us, but we also need people that we can feel comfortable telling them that something good is happening and they don't malfunction. We also need people around us who we can, even express a thought or idea without them feeling like we're doing too much, saying too much, you're acting like this. I just, because for me personally, coming from the background that I came from at a younger age, I have a very low tolerance for people who want to be happy in their downtroddenness or their down badness. I have a issue with that, especially, and allow me to have a strong woman moment, especially since I didn't get no help from anybody except for God, of course, which is all the help you need. But seeing when you are in difficult times and by the grace of God, you kind of fight your way out. I have issue with people who act like they're hopeless and stuck. I can't stand it. And if they want to stay that way, that's fine. But I take issue with people who are now trying to bring you down simply because they don't see a way out, or they try to distract you in some way, or they try to sabotage you or get in your way or try to play mental games. Like all of that stuff to me is very demonic. I just can't stand it. AW, my mother told me not to hang around certain family members and I didn't listen, and I found out the hard way she was right. Absolutely. Unfortunately, a lot of our family members can be the very people who are plotting on us and don't want to see us do better simply because they themselves, they're trying to figure out, how did you and I come from the same background and yet you're doing this and I'm doing that? And let me clarify, you don't have to be doing anything, extraordinary. You don't have to be doing anything so top notch. You could be working a 9-to-5 job and taking care of your kids. And if somebody's jealous and envious of you, they will envy the fact that you have a job. They will envy the fact that you have kids. It could be anything. Like, you don't have to be a millionaire for somebody to have jealousy against you. It's just some people that they were never taught that as long as you have breath in your body, you can accomplish whatever you need to accomplish. You can do within reason. I'm not saying anything crazy, but you're never stuck. Like, when you operate as a woman who has options, there are going to be jealous women who are going to look at you like, girl, please, like, who do you think you are? Because you refuse to give into the notion that you just have to be down bad, and that's just the way it has to be. And Shanquella Robinson, I'm pretty positive that those people, you see what they did, and this is the number one thing that you don't want to do. I read the news story and it said acquaintances. She did not know all of these people. She didn't know them well enough to call them friends. They were close acquaintances of somebody that she knew. There was only one individual in that group that she actually knew closely, but the rest of them she didn't know like that. You never want to leave the country with people who you do not know on a very close basis. You don't want to leave the country, leave your element with people who you really don't know like that. Because these people, and this shows how much of cowards they were, they waited to get her out of her element, get her out the country, gang up on her, and do what they did to her. And it sounds like she had little something to drink, because when the bozo clown that was recording it asked her, why aren't you fighting back? And she said no, it sounded like she was a little bit inebriated. Ladies, we cannot let our guard down around people who we don't know that well, whether it be if you're in your own state, in your own city. You don't let your guard down, period, the way I see it. But especially when you're around people you do not know that well. And ladies, you have to pick up on the body language and the way people talk to you in general. If these people probably were around her, probably didn't show that much interest in the process of what she was doing, but they were only there to celebrate, that's a red flag, in my opinion. So you have no interest in the development of what I'm doing. You just want to be around when it's time to celebrate. And then even in that, you're not showing me too much attention. Like, I don't get that. Like, to me, that's a red flag. That's not a friend. Like, a person who doesn't want to go through it with you, just want to be there at the end to celebrate what you have and then still show their hateration. Like, that's not a real friend. Like, people who start getting disgusted by the fact that you're accomplishing so much, those are not people that you want to be around. And that's another reason why you have to learn how to win in silence. Don't tell anybody about anything until it's done. I'm not saying if you're married, speak to your husband, or you have a parent that you trust, speak to them. But even in that, You don't want to speak too much because then you lose your focus on what you're doing, in my opinion. Brittany Thompson, good morning. It's funny when they know you can see through their mess, they'll start gaslighting. It's like they are intimidated by you seeing them for who they are. Absolutely. Nobody wants to be, called out. And that's why, in my opinion, it's a waste of time sometimes to call them out. It's just, just get away. Don't call them out, get away. Because a lot of times when we're dealing with people like that, you can't really reason with them because in their mind, they're just, they whatever they're saying, it makes sense to them. You can't reason with them unless it's something that is actually going to benefit you or something that is going to be accomplished. But if you're just going back and forth with somebody just to be bickering and arguing, that does nothing except for waste your energy. Like, I'm not going to do that, especially with somebody who I know doesn't want to see me do well. Like, I don't have time for that. Be miserable by yourself. That's when you're buying into the whole misery loves company thing. And who has time for that? Lovely Dial. My mom also told me to stay away from her sister. When my mom died, I reached out and tried to have a relationship, but my mom was right. She's so negative and nasty. Now I see why my mom cut her off. Absolutely. Yeah, if your upbringing is different from theirs, and not even that you are so-called in a better environment or better situation than them, it's just a mindset. If your mind, because that's really where it starts. You have a lot of people who have accomplished a lot of things, they have a lot of stuff, but their mindset is still very much street. Their mindset is still very much low tier. You could live in the ghetto and have a top tier wise woman mindset, and people will hate you. People will be jealous and envious of you because of your potential and the way you see life. You don't see things in the same way that other people do. You don't look at things as if, one person has their life in your hand. You don't look at other people and get easily fearful and say, well, if it happened for them, it's probably going to happen to me. And a lot of times when people are jealous, it's because you don't have enough fear for them. You're not afraid enough for them. Like, you're not scared of what's going to happen. You're not scared of this. You're not scared of that. No. And a lot of times when women have been through so much, that fear starts to go away. Talk to a woman who's been through a lot, and she will tell you it's very little that she's afraid of when it comes to doing better for herself, doing better for her family, when it comes to bettering herself as a woman, spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, every other way. There's very little that somebody can do or say to make her be afraid, shaking in her boots, to not make a move in life. And jealous people often get irritated with women who operate that way. When they can't scare you out of doing the things that they can hope they would scare you out of, they will have an issue with you. That's why I don't talk to too many people. I don't have time for naysaying and trying to hold you back from doing something, especially, and these are often your sideline critics who are not going to help you do nothing, but they will talk you out of everything. A hater. Good morning, Stevan Harris. Kayla Rega, I'm 20 and I'm in college. I have grown women attacking me, age 40 and 60. Yeah, you have older women. Sometimes they'll come at younger women simply because they're jealous because their youth is gone. And they feel like, undoubtedly, you're probably more fit. You probably look good and all that stuff because you're a young lady. I'm not taking anything from you, but you're younger. 20 and 40 is different. 20 and 60 is different. Those are women who are normally afraid to age. They can't embrace where they are right now in their womanhood. They still have to try to compare themselves to 20-year-olds. Like, I'm 39 and I'm not going to compare myself to a 20-year-old. I'm going to make my 39 work for what it does for me. And if women had that kind of mentality, there wouldn't be so much jealousy and envy when it comes to looks. A 20-year-old and a 40-year-old, there's no comparing. Like, we're different. Our bodies have aged differently. We might look different. Now, you have some 40, 50, 60-year-olds that look like they could be in their 20s and 30s, but you have some women, oftentimes they're fighting and jealous of genetics. They're jealous of another woman's genetics. Like, how are you jealous of genetics? Like, those are things that you can't control. Some people just have certain things, they've been graced with certain things through their family. Some women never know what cellulite looks like. Unfortunately, I'm not in that family, and it's okay. You got to embrace how you look and how you are at every season of your life. And when you can't do that, that's when you'll hate on the next woman. That's when you'll be jealous of the next woman. I'm not saying you can't look at another woman and say, I wish my stomach looked like hers. I wish I was fit like her. You can use another woman as inspiration, but don't go all out trying to be her, because it'll never happen. That's when you start getting mad at that woman for simply being who she naturally is. Like, she can't help the genetics that she was born with. Some women have genetics where they have super long hair, super clear skin, not a crack or crevice anywhere. They've been blessed in that way, and that's all right. And you, with your acne, cellulite, stretch marks, and everything else, you're going to have to figure out a way to make that look good for you. That's really what it comes down to. Tanya Landry, welcome to the channel. Welcome back. I went out of the country, a cruise to Mexico with a former colleague, and it was deplorable. The coworker allowed on her friends to treat me horrible. Oh, don't, that's one thing I would never do. I've never done that, but don't, thank God I wasn't hurt or unalived. Absolutely never go out the country. This is my opinion, with a coworker, number one, unless the coworker was your friend first. And definitely don't go out with a coworker and her friend. That's almost a setup for a lot of issues, because coworkers, some coworkers, not all, but you have your coworker, you have your work personality, and then you have your outside personality. For most women, they can be very, cordial in the workplace because your money is attached to the workplace. So of course you're going to be all kind and, hello everybody, welcome, all those kind of things. It's like you have to put on for a lot of women because that's attached to your money. But then outside of the workplace, I've had coworkers who talk to me inside the workplace, small talk, but I've seen them out in public and they act like they don't see me. They're like, walk right past me. I'm like, oh, okay. I had to feel silly for a minute. That's a transparent moment. I was like, hi. And they're like they don't see me. I'm like, oh, okay. I'm in that category. Just talk to me at work. That's fine. It's okay, because I've had coworkers that I do that with also. I think some women are just different. For myself, I'm more of just like, I can't be just right out mean to people. You have to do a lot for me to be completely mean and evil to you. Like, I'm not going to treat you that kind of way because I'm just not that kind of person. Even a person that I've had an argument with or had an issue with, if I see you in public, I'm still going to be like, how you doing? I just can't hold on to like that kind of negativity. But you have some women, they are like that. Like, they thrive in it. Like, hey, this is how I am. They thrive on being that kind of woman. Sierra Tyler, I can definitely relate to Shanquella. Yeah, I don't like people that always have an issue when you give them a solution. Stop giving solutions. I figure these people are the problem. Yeah, Miss Henry, you said, I don't like people who have an issue with you when you give them a solution. Stop giving them solutions. The issue is that, number one, and it depends on who you're talking to, because, number one, just to, be a little on the opposite side of that, everybody doesn't want unsolicited advice. It's one of those things like, who asked you? And that's perfectly fine. Like, you don't have to give everybody advice just because you might be the kind of woman that wants to see people doing well. I've been guilty of that myself, where you so want to see people doing well. You want to help any way you can, where you just start offering up advice that nobody asked. But then secondly, you have a different type of people who complain about everything, but don't want any kind of solutions you offer. That's when you stop offering solutions, because you're wasting your time. A lot of people have to just figure it out, or they'll do whatever they're going to do. You just be there. And if you want to be that kind of woman, which most feminine women are, you just be there to be of support. But yeah, some people will actually resent you when you try to offer too many solutions, because it looks like you're trying to control them, like you're trying to control their moves and what they're doing. So it's best to just focus on yourself. Focus on the other things. I think that kind of attention is really only needed for kids. Like, that's when you step in as a mom, you give that kind of attention, solutions to problems for your kids up to a certain point. I'm now training myself. I have 2 teenagers, and I'm trying my best to not always have a solution to the problem. Like, let them figure things out, because they're getting older. They're more becoming young adults. They got to figure things out. But yes, if you're that kind of woman and you just like to make sure everybody's okay, you will end up having people who don't like you or resent you simply because you're trying to help. Because it's like, who asked you? Hey, stop giving the solutions. That's my answer for that. Kayla Rega, thank you. You're welcome. I wish they would stop. Well, when I was lovely doll, when I was in my 20s, I had 47-year-old women that bullied me. She was crazy as yeah, I don't know what it is about the older women trying to bully the younger women. I had somebody like that in my life when I was 15, 14 years old, where, every time I turn around, you don't have no butt. Always making a comment about how my butt was flat and about how I don't have this, you don't have that, you know, little threats and these kind of things. And why? Because I was more of that quiet kind of girl when I was younger. When I was a teenager, I was quiet. My father had me in the house doing chores when all of the other girls were out skating and doing different things. Between the ages of 12 and like 16, I was in the house doing chores, focused on schoolwork, doing those kind of things. I wasn't out there kind of in the jungle with the rest of the hyenas. So I didn't have that hyena-like mentality. I was more reserved, more quiet. And yeah, they saw that. Bullies, they can pick up on softness. They can pick up on a woman who has softness, who has, kindness, who's sweet. And those things are a positive for a woman. But when a woman is dealing with bullies and savages, women that have those savage-like, overbearing, obnoxious personalities, they can sense your sweetness and your softness, and they try to pick on that, especially when you are a little bit naive. I'm not saying not to stay that way, because that's very beautiful for a woman to be feminine and to be reserved and to know time and place. Those are all wonderful attributes. But when you're in the midst of hyenas, women who have a savage-like mentality, if you don't also know how to operate in that confident way, they will absolutely devour you. So you have to know how to balance that out, recognize when somebody's trying to do the most with you, and protect yourself. Angel, I know. I don't understand why being mean for no reason. It's a mentality. I mean, a lot of women grew up in households, environments where they were taught to be mean. They were taught to be angry. They were taught to just have that overall demeanor. I'm not saying as women we don't get angry, we can't be mean. All of us have those moments. I have those moments. We're human beings. I'm talking about when your personality, your characteristic is angry and mean spirited as a woman. That's so unattractive for a woman. And yet you have many women who operate that way. They're just evil. They're just mean for no reason. Mean to other women, mean to men. They speak to their men like they're trash. And I know as women, we sometimes with our mouths, especially when we're upset and angry, we get that way. When you're upset and angry, that's one thing. When you are just like that, I've seen women absolutely talk to their husbands, boyfriends, whomever, like they're trash in public. And I'm like, my goodness, you are sending him out into the streets. Like, you better hope this is a decent man, because I'm pretty sure he's not dealing with that. Like, that's crazy. Like, you have some women who are actually like, they don't understand, like, talk to people the way you want to be talked to. They don't get that. I was recently violently attacked from behind by a jealous neighbor, Tabitha Barnes. I'm so sorry that happened to you. After I ghosted her on social media, ladies, please be careful. What? Physically attacked you? That's absolutely crazy. I'm so sorry you went through that. By a neighbor? That's unreal. Unreal. Jazz and laughter. I'm one of those women who does not appreciate unsolicited advice. I don't think anybody really likes unsolicited advice unless you're in a situation and you're open to hear something. But also, I'm not a complainer. Sometimes I can just make a simple statement and someone comes in with advice I didn't ask for. Absolutely. Yeah, and I get that too. You can mention one thing and next thing you know, people have a whole life plan of what you can do to make things better. Everybody don't need that or want that. I have been, people give me advice on different things I didn't ask for. And to me, sometimes it appears that they're trying to say that I'm not doing enough, or like I'm missing the mark in some way. We all are missing the mark in something. But once again, it's like, who are you? Especially when you check the source, sometimes it's like, who are you? I can't tell you. I've gotten different advice about parenting because I have a child on the spectrum. I've told you that before. So people will, they will try to give me advice on different things. And I'm like, you don't have a child on a spectrum. You don't have a child, period. How do you know? But okay. But me being me, sometimes I'll just listen. I've only gotten irritated a couple times where I actually had to quote, let somebody know, like, I don't want to hear all that. Like, I didn't even ask you that. Like, I got it. I know what I'm doing. That's okay. Miss Henry, it's so sad that a woman would be jealous of a younger woman. I have accepted an auntie role. Absolutely. Accept your auntie role. One of these other content creators, I think Jackie Ina or somebody, they got offended by being called auntie. For me, I'll embrace it. I mean, I don't care. I will be an auntie. I appreciate that title because to me, it means you have wisdom. It means that people are getting something from you that is valuable, that you don't just blend in with the others. I'm not knocking young ladies. I'm not knocking younger ladies at all. But once you get to a certain age, it's like you should be developing in your wisdom and how you act as a woman. I don't still want to be classified with the 20-year-olds, especially when it comes to mindset. I don't want to be classified with them. I'm different. If I could still look 20, that'd be great. But we're not on the same level that way. Why older women feel offended if they're not classified in the same level as 20 somethings, I don't know. Like, I would think that you would evolve in your mindset from the time you were 20 up until the time you're like 40 to 50 years old. Why do you still want to be in the same age range as them, especially mentally? I don't get it. Like, we're different. I'm a Sigma female who has done a lot of personal development work, survivor to victor, on myself. And I find that more authentic I am with women, the more I'm attacked by jealous and insecure women. Yes, the more authentic you are, meaning now you're not trying to just act like everybody else. You're not just trying to blend in. You're going to have people, they might not be comfortable with the real you or how you act. And I noticed that with myself when I stopped trying to be like, how was it? Like, oh, that kind of way all the time, because I am lighthearted in that way, but I'm not always like cheery. Like, I'm not zippity doo dah, like I'm not like, hey, I'm not that way all the time. And when I started just being myself more, the right kind of people gravitated to me and I started building the right kind of relationships. But trying to be like, like, no, my voice is a little bit lower. My voice is not all, my voice is more raspy. I don't have that baby voice. I don't have that. I have that more raspy Tony Braxton-esque kind of voice. And I embrace that. It's not as deep as Tony Braxton's, but it's along that same page. And I embrace that. Like, I embrace my deeper tone and the way I speak. And I don't care how it sounds. I lapse between professor and, whatever. I don't care. Yes, age gracefully. Right. Some women are like that for no reason. It's weird. Absolutely. College was the worst. I had to bring out the claws to protect myself. And, I will always encourage you to avoid any kind of violence, avoid any kind of altercations. Once you get to 30 years old, you have no problems running away. Like, you no longer care about how it's going to look. You just want to be safe and you want to be at peace. So you don't care about running away or getting away. When you're in your teenage years, when you're in your 20s, that's like the proving ground where it's like, I got to show them. Once you get into your 30s, it's like, I'm not showing anybody anything. I'm going to go get my nails done, or I'm going to my house and work on something. I don't have time for this. Like, you don't care about those kind of things. That's the beautiful thing. Another beautiful thing about getting older is that certain things that you used to care about when you were younger, you just don't. Like, I don't care if somebody thinks like, and you should care as in you want to be a decent woman. But I used to be a serial apologizer where I would think, did I say that the right way? I wonder if they took it this way. I wonder if they took it that way. And now I got to backtrack to call somebody to fill them out to see if they took what I said this way. Now it's like, I hope it didn't come off that way, but if it did, I'll do better next time. Anyway, like, I don't have time. Like, we're all just people. You point me out one perfect person. And then I'll go back and try to second guess every word I've said. I don't have time for that. I'm trying to keep kids alive. I have a husband. I'm trying to keep myself alive. I don't have time to second guess everybody's thoughts and feelings. That was a sidebar of the things that you just don't care about too much as you get older. It's like, I don't have time to second guess anybody's thoughts and feelings. Like, you'll be all right. Same, my son is autistic, jazz and laughter. Same, my son is autistic, and getting advice from someone who doesn't have an autistic child or know a child at all is insane to me. Absolutely. Now, people I do appreciate getting advice from about autism is people who work in autistic fields, like they're a counselor or they're a therapist or they're affiliated with some kind of association. I've gotten so much advice from people who are a part of those kind of programs, and get this, it's because they have a solution for my problem. I love getting advice from people who have a solution for my problem. They're pointing me in the direction of the occupational therapist. They can get you set up with these kind of things. They know about IEP meetings, but you have people who are just your neighborhood counselors who never had experienced anything. I'm not saying you have to have experiences per se to offer sound advice, sound wisdom, because some of the things I speak about, I didn't experience it firsthand. I'm aware of it because I was around it. But what I am saying when it comes to children as a mother, that's a little bit different. Like, you can't just be offering up random advice based on what you learn in a book. Like, you have to really know and be in this a little bit. So yeah, I don't like that. But people who are in different associations, they see the results of people getting the help. I appreciate that. I don't appreciate somebody looking down on me thinking that I'm not doing what I should be doing as a mother. I don't have time for that. That's only something a mother can really like gauge. Like, if you're not a mom, you might not really understand where I'm coming from on that. But the mothers out there, you know exactly where I'm coming from. Like, don't tell me nothing. You've never felt human shoulders come out of you. Now, have you? Have you ever felt human shoulders come out of you? It's an odd feeling. Say that to them. Miss Henry, I agree that I never given unsolicited advice. Now I'm a villain because I became savage about my peace. Self-care is choosing yourself. Yes, I mean, you can't live a peaceful life. Not saying you can avoid all altercations, all issues. I mean, we live in the world with people, but as you get older, and this is another thing too that I've learned, thank God, you don't have to put up with everything. You don't have to put up with everything. And this is another thing. I think we kind of been brainwashed, especially in the Black community. We've been brainwashed to believe that we have to put up with everything and everybody. Like, if they're acting this way, just give them some grace. And yes, we want to give people grace. We're supposed to, especially if you're a believer. But then there's also like that bad company. Like, I don't have time for that. And I had to do that with certain family members. I would notice every time, and this is how you can tell that you're entertaining the wrong people and that you need to cut ties or distance yourself. Every time I was around certain family members, they brought out the worst in me. I barely, if ever, once in a while, but I barely say any cuss words now. I have to get really, really upset to be cussing or something. But when I was around those family members, I was like on the block. Like, it was like boys in the hood kind of mentality because they brought the worst out of me. I was always angry, upset. They live in a whole nother state. I would come back to my home state and be talking to my husband as if I was still talking to them. But the moment I got distant from those family members and don't interact with them as much as I used to, I don't have that same kind of way about me. Even different people who were in my life, certain things I don't worry about anymore. And my demeanor changed by the grace of God. It's not just me, but I say that to say that who you surround yourself with, that absolutely matters on every level, every level, not level, every level. No matter if you're trying to do better mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever it is, whoever you surround yourself with, it's like they can either influence you the right way or the wrong way. So we have to be selective. We have to be mindful. And there's nothing bougie or conceited about being selective on who you choose to have around you. If you're not a jealous hater who sits around hating on other people, why would you want to surround yourself with women who do nothing but gossip about other people? If you're not a jealous, envious hater, why would you want to sit around in a circle with women putting down other women? That's just not something you would gravitate to because that's not your character. And this is another thing, getting back to our original point of this video, Shanquella Robinson, she was young. She was young, so her mind probably wasn't there yet. But a woman who's a little bit older could see These people are for the streets. These people are doing all these things. You are not on the same page as them. Not saying you can't be friends, not saying you can't communicate once in a while, but you don't want to be in such close proximity to people who, I have to just say how it is, if given the opportunity, they will drag you down. If they don't have the same kind of mindset as you when it comes to how you want to live and how you want to be, they will drag you down, either purposely or unknowingly. And when you're trying to do better, you don't have time to be around the crabs in a barrel, the people who are trying to pull you down to their level. You don't have time for that. And of course, she was younger, so she probably didn't recognize any of that. She was trying to do what Toya Wright is trying to do right now. She's on a whole different level right now and how she lives and how she is. She's in a whole different tax bracket, and she's still trying to integrate her family and trying to get them on the same page as her. And while you can love your family, but just because you change, you can't expect other people are going to change, nor do they have to. But if you're trying to make them be like you, that's not going to happen. Like, I think sometimes as women, we're just guilty of trying to force our will on other people, trying to get them to be what we want them to be to us. And that's not wise. All it's going to do is make people resent you and then dislike you. Can't do it. It's better to separate yourself and just let them be. In the words of Badu, I pick my friends like I pick my fruit. Absolutely. Jazz and laughter. My heart still hurts so deeply for Shanquella Robinson and what she went through. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like, and I have to say this too. You had two men that were in that room with those, I think it was two other girls or three other girls. No, she was the third one. So it was three women. No, it was six of them. So I think it was three women in addition to herself and two men. You had men. And this just goes to show you, and I don't care how it sounds, it is what it is. This just goes to show you how low the male population is starting to drop in our society, where you had two men. Mind you, they might have been younger men, but they were still men nonetheless. There were two men in that room seeing what was happening, probably already knowing what was about to happen to that lady, to Shanquella Robinson, and they didn't do anything to warn her or help her. They didn't stop it before it got out of hand. They didn't try to do anything except record. And this is the reason, ladies, while also you have to have wisdom and discernment and class about yourself when it comes to the men that you're going to deal with. Any kind of man that could sit around and watch a woman be harmed, even by another woman, and not try to intervene. Like, I don't care if they initially went along with the plan. The moment a real man in his head sees a woman being harmed, he can't just sit back and watch. He's going to have to stop, like, no, forget this, stop that, stop. For them to sit there and watch that, that goes to show you just how soft and weak the male population, not all men, I have to say that because the internet likes to be confused. A lot of the new men, the new mindset is that they get into women's issues, not to make them better, but to make them worse. How can a man be so jealous of a woman that you're going to watch another woman hurt, for lack of another word, another woman to that extent? That's very weird to me. I don't even know what kind of authentic masculine man really wants to be in a room where something like that is happening. Even if they knew that something was about to go down, a man that's actually a man, they'd be like, all right, we're going out here. We're leaving the room. I don't know what y'all about to do, but we're leaving. I'm leaving. And excuse themselves. They don't want no parts. Men can be just as bad as women when it comes to this jealousy thing. And I see a lot of your comments. I don't like to address it because my channel is for women, and jealousy between men, women alike, it's all the same. But when you have a man, because these men were jealous of her too, clearly, because they allowed these young ladies to do what they did, and then they antagonized her by asking her if she's going to fight back. That is a coward. And I guarantee you, these men have what they're coming to them, because men forget sometimes, and I'm saying in general, not all men, that they do have a role. Like, they're not just here to be cute. They have a role to protect, those kind of things, not just their women, but other women, if they happen to see. That's more of an olden days thing. I know that's not really happening too much today, but especially with these younger men, They're just as soft and sassy. And my goodness, I'm just going to leave it alone before I say too much. But the fact that a man can see that happening, it just makes it 10 times worse to me. Yeah, it's like, I don't understand. Like, you didn't feel like you wanted to intervene. Think if that was your mom. Think if that was your sister, if that was your aunt, your cousin, somebody close to you that was happening to that extent. I'm not saying if it was one on one, because I don't condone any kind of violence whatsoever. But if there were two women just going at each other, then maybe they could just leave out the room. You know what, y'all stop, or you know what, that's on you. But all of this here, that was completely wicked. And I think they should have did better as men. All of them should have did better, but they should have did better. And all young men, I believe, don't have that same kind of mindset where they're just going to sit there and watch something like that happen. You have to have some level of wickedness in you to be comfortable watching that. It's just crazy. Yeah, you have to be very hesitant on who you call your friend. I don't really call anybody a friend. For me, it's like two people I call my friends. And the one person I actually was in high school with, work with, right now we don't see each other as often as we do, but we text here and there, talk here and there. And every time I talk to her, it's like just pick up like the next day. So it's really only two people that I call friend, but everybody else, they're just acquaintances. Tabitha Barnes, welcome back. My uncle is 85 and said the man became the woman and the woman became the man. I'm telling you, I think there's something going on in the world where that's absolutely happening, where suddenly men want to be like women. Not only, and I don't want to get too deep into this because, YouTube, monetization, censorship, all that kind of stuff. And I would say you have some women that are actually okay with men being in their softer side that they don't have. I saw an article in Dwayne Wade about how he's carrying a merce and he get his nails painted and all this different stuff. And I'm just like, when did we cross the barrier between men being masculine and women being feminine? Like, when did these things start to overlap? And I'm not saying that, if a woman was raised around mainly boys, you might have a more rough exterior. You might be more, like they say, tomboy. That's something different. Or if a man was raised around a bunch of sisters, a bunch of girls, where he knows, different hairstyles, he knows different things because he had a lot of sisters around his aunts and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about to the extent that men now act like they're just as delicate and soft as women, and they have no role in life but to sit there and look cute and instigate and antagonize other women. That's weird. It's getting very weird out here. That was just my rant for a minute, but that's very weird. To your response. Can your friend be a friend with people who dislike you? No. Nope. Not in my opinion. Unless something happened and now, like you had an issue with somebody that your friend is a friend with, that's something different. But to befriend somebody that you just don't like, that's very odd to me. Again, once you get to a certain age, these are more of like the younger woman kind of questions. When you get to a certain age, some of these kind of issues become non-existent because you pretty much just vibe by yourself or you have your close-knit circle of people. So really, when you get to a certain age, making new friends is almost rare. It can be done, especially if you build a community such as this or if you're out and about. But building those kind of friendships normally happens when you're younger, and you can always build them as you get older, but it's very rare. But I would say no. If they willingly befriend somebody who doesn't like you, what does that say about how they feel about you? What are they going to do? Sit around and talk about all the negative things about you to that person who doesn't like you? How does that make them your friend? I wouldn't understand that. Somebody who loathes your existence, but yet that's their closest friend. No, I wouldn't be able to trust you. Brittany Thompson, I'm blessed to walk out of high school with some real friends on my side. I'm more strict in who I call my friend, and I pick up on people's energy. Absolutely. Yes. High school, college, some of your first work environments, those are really the places where you start really making those real friendships. Some women, don't really like to be friends with a lot of other women, and I get it. But I do think that it's healthy if you happen to find some women who are mature enough to be able to handle being friends with another woman, who can handle being friends with you in your up times and your down times, that they're not only comfortable with you when you're down bad. that they're not only comfortable with you when you're not supposedly doing better than them. If you're able to find friends like that, that's absolutely wonderful. I can tell you, my friend that I have, I consider her my best friend. She's seen me up and down, saw me when I had my kids, when I got married, all of these different things. And we've never had that kind of toxic energy toward one another where it's some kind of jealousy or animosity. I've seen her purchase her own homes, her own homes. She was able to buy her own homes by herself. And I was very proud of her. And she's married now. That's my friend through all different seasons. But you have some women, if you're able to do things on your own apart from a man, they have issues with you. They act like you're a man hater, like you're this, you're that. It's just weird dynamics between women sometimes. Abundance grace. These days, there is no good friends, jealousy all over the place. Now, yes, jealousy is rampant, but there are some people, I believe there are some people who are decent. There are some women who are decent. It depends on who you're around. You know, you really have to take time to build friendships, build relationships. You know, I don't think there's one set place where you can find friends. I would say, you know, you go into the gym, church, things like that. Yes, I've made some friends in church, but just because somebody's in church, that doesn't mean the church is in them. And I'll leave it at that. There's really sometimes no difference. Unfortunately, I have experienced that also, where women can be just as jealous, just as catty, just as, you know, mean spirited and weird, even there. So that's why for me personally, I allow God to build my relationships and the people who are going to be around me. I don't try to make friends. Like I said, I'm grown. I'm busy. I got things going on. I'm not trying to make friends. But if it happens, you know, you be friendly to people. If it happens, wonderful. If not, I'm going to be okay. Like I have a daughter. Your daughter can be your friend. Mom first, but friend. Abundance grace these days. Oh, be careful who I call friends. Absolutely. Brittany Thompson. I consider them as my sisters because they are genuine people. Are you talking about women at church? Your sisters? Yes. If you're in church, sisters in the Lord, absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. When you are younger and you're around certain types of personalities of women, it can almost deter you from wanting to be friends with other women. And I know for a while it was like that for me. Mhm. Let's look through some of your comments. Yes, but Shanquella Robinson, what happened to her was absolutely unfortunate. And I made this live simply because I never want us to get so comfortable with the things that are happening in the world. Sometimes, you know, we just become desensitized to certain things as a humanity because it's so much negative happening where it's like, okay, somebody got this today, somebody got that today. So what? But when it comes to Shanquella Robinson and what happened to her, I never want to see her name used as a verb or an action word. Like, I have to be careful. You're going to get Shanquella. That's very ignorant. That's very rude. And you never want to use her or anybody who's been through those kind of traumatic experiences. And then think about her family. Her family has to deal with her not being there and everything that happened. And now her, unfortunately, being used as an example of how people can act when they're jealous and envious of you and they're secretly plotting on you. So I just don't want, not on this channel, we're not going to use her as a verb. We're not going to use her as some kind of euphemism. We're not going to do that. She was a young lady who was accomplishing much and her life was cut short because of some haters. And she is one of the major motivations as into the reason why I will continue to highlight the issues with jealousy and envy amongst women, talk about it amongst men too, but not much, mainly amongst women, because this is a real issue. And if you're not aware of the people you're surrounding yourself with, if you divulge too much information to people that you really don't know, if you go out of town with people who you are missing all the red flags, they really don't like you here in your city, and then you're going to go out of town with them, that's not wise. I did a video about don't take the invite. Look at that video. There's another video about humiliation tactics. Look at that one where I talk about how you really have to be mindful of the women you're surrounding yourself with and how they change up on you, because this is another sign. of women who are secretly jealous of you. They'll be kind to you when you're by yourself, but then when they're a group of other women, they change up. And contrary to what people believe, your personality should not change if you're around certain people. If you're a friend to them in front of your family, you should be a friend to them in front of your other friends or in front of strangers or whomever. Like, only a jealous person or a toxic person's personality changes up depending on who they're around. Like, that's not what a real friend does, in my opinion. Brittany Thompson, I want to be able to be financially stable before I hit the age of 30. I don't know what to do. I would like to maybe have like a passive income. I want to make good money so I can get a car. That's a wonderful goal to have. And in the comment section, is anybody, thank you for bringing that up. Is anybody interested in getting information about making passive income? Because literally I make passive incomes in 4 different ways, and I would love to share that information with you all, but I don't want to make videos on topics that you all are not interested in either. I've been on YouTube long enough now, almost going on 2 years, to know that there are certain topics that my demographic just doesn't want to talk about, but who wouldn't be interested in making money? But if you are, let me know in the comment section. Just send up a heart or 100%. And maybe I'll put those in the membership tab or start making, one-off videos here and there on passive income. Because there's so many ways that you can make passive income as a person, as a woman. And as I've said before in other videos, and this is a little bit of a sidebar, you can't really lean into your femininity and not be so rough and rugged and raspy if you're always worrying about money. If you're always worrying about how you're going to get your next meal, how you're going to do this. Like, no woman can really be rested. I don't care what nobody says. No woman can really be so rested wondering how she's going to eat. And while you have to have a level of faith, you still have to put feet to your faith, meaning whatever gift, skill, talent you have, use that. And thankfully, I have learned that over time. So I would love to teach you. Because, nothing stresses women more than money, worrying about money. And who has time for that when you have different creative ways that you can make money, at least something as a supplement or backup? I just don't want to have to burn myself out to have good money. I hear you. I am at the age right now, and I'm at the point in my life where I don't want to burn myself out either. Hence why I write books, and I appreciate you all for purchasing the books. I write books. I have an Etsy shop. I'm doing YouTube, in addition to having my regular job, which I don't do as much. But I get you. Once I turn 35, I start realizing, like, you don't need to be pushing so hard, not physically. I'm a firm believer that as a woman, we should use our brains more so to make money and not so much our physical body. Of course, you're going to be moving and all of that, but I mean intense, laborious kind of things. Like, I'm not going to be a lumberjack. I don't care how hard times get. I'm not going to be a lumberjack. I'm not going to deplete my body. Been there, done that. Develop acid reflux, develop anxiety, develop stress. I've been there, done that. I don't have time to be working like a lumberjack, especially when I know I have, by the grace of God, gifts, skills, and talents that I can use that will allow me to still rest while still bringing in income. So I would love to show you how to do that too. Absolutely. The Lord will supply all your needs. Absolutely. But you still got to put faith to your feet. And I don't want to cross over into some kind of sermon or preaching because I don't do that. But I see a lot of my spiritual people, y'all will throw out scriptures. I know scripture. I study every single day. Faith and work go together. So we can say these things, but you're still going to be broke if you're sitting there just reading and not do nothing. I have to say that. No name. We are seeing too much of this in the news and social media. Look what happened to the track star getting hit with the baton. Yeah, that was another one. The lady got hit in the head with the baton, all because she was surpassing her in the race. These were college students. I forget what school, but she hit her in the head with a baton. And when I saw that, you know who I thought about? And these are some of my older ladies, maybe 80s babies, 70s babies. You know who that reminded me of? It reminded me of Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding. When Nancy Kerrigan was doing so well as an ice skater, figure skater, where Tanya Harding actually hired somebody to hit her in the knee with a pipe, and that destroyed her career. So this jealousy thing, it's been around for a very long time. Like, this is not a new thing. This has been happening all the time. But that was crazy. She hit the second place. She was silly for her actions too. How are you going to hit the second place runner in the head? She's not even winning. Like, you shouldn't hit anybody. But if you were going to do that to somebody, you would think you would do it to the one who's actually winning, beating everybody, right? The first place, not the second. She's losing just like you. Like, make that make sense. But this goes to show you, when women start feeling intimidated by other women, you're doing too much, you're surpassing me. They'll do anything. She hit her in the head with a baton. I believe she gave the girl a concussion. Like, you got to be kidding me. It's like, you got to watch your back, watch your sides, everything. It's just crazy. That's why, I don't know. And messed up her entire college career, her college run or whatever. 100%. Love talk about luck on St. Patrick's Day. Yay. Well, I appreciate your guidance. Oh, you are so welcome, Stacy Running. You're so welcome. Absolutely. Infinite Redbone. Faith and works go together. Absolutely. Like, don't ever be fooled. Like, you can't have too much of one or the other. Like, it has to go together. You can say what you want. It's because jealousy, we are where you are today. Yeah. And only jealous people say things like, oh, you think you got haters around every corner. It's not like that. Nobody thinks they got haters around every corner. We just know you have some wicked people out here who don't like to see other people happy. Once again, you don't have to be doing anything. I'll show you just how low that you could be, or just how deep jealousy goes. You could have qualified for food stamps. They could have qualified you. Now you're getting $500 a month in food stamps. And you will have somebody hating on you simply because the state then qualified you for food stamps and you get to eat good for a time. It doesn't have to be anything so extravagant. Like, we have to stop being so naive to think that it has to be something so extravagant. It could be anything. That's what people do when they're jealous. It could be anything. They were in high school. Okay, it was high school. Parents are upholding her in her wrong. You said her parents are upholding her in her wrong? That's crazy. And that's another reason why you have a lot of women who continue on ended up becoming the mean girls, mean women, because you have parents, instead of nipping it in the bud, they actually celebrate the foolishness. They actually encourage the mean girl spirit in their children, in their daughters. I would never. Thankfully, my daughter is not that kind of girl, to my knowledge, where she treats people that way. But if I ever saw my daughter being just mean-spirited to somebody just because, I would nip that in the bud. But you have some women who take pride. They see their little girl being the bully, being one who's, being nasty to other adults. And they get a kick out of it. It's crazy. A lip reader said she screamed, "Get off" before the hit. Get off before the hit? It's weird. Could be you put your makeup together nice. It could be anything, Infinite Redbone. It can be anything. And what's crazy is that you might not think that you're anything to look at, anything to think about. You might think that, it's just me. Like, I'm just a regular person. I'm just, whatever. And you'll have somebody over there side-nodding you like, and it's like, wow, it's just me. Like, I don't understand, but it's weird. And I'm thankful I truly don't fully understand that, because I think you have to have some level of toxicity to fully understand why. Like, it's not okay. Some people can be jealous of you having a new car. It don't have to even be expensive car. Yes, just the fact that you off the bus. I actually had a young lady say that one of her friends, she got a brand new car, and she said that I got a brand new car. So to me, that means we got a brand new car. When I'm available, when they're around, they don't have to get on the bus. I'll give them a ride. And she said that her friend was actually like, no, I'll just hop on the bus. Everywhere I got to go, I'll get on the bus. Anywhere I got to go, I'll just hop on the bus. I don't need no ride from you. And you know what that is? That's pride, and it's jealousy. It's because she got it before they did. And now it's like, instead of enjoying it, which I don't understand, it's like, if you're my friend or my family and we're really close that way, when you win, I win. If I'm off the bus when you're around, I'm off the bus. Like, I'm happy about that. I'm not going to look at you and be like, well, now you think you somebody because you got a car. Now I'll catch the bus. And that's something that you really have to work out on the inside. Now, I'm not talking about with the people who try to, people use what they have against you and they want you to feel bad. I'm not talking about those kind of people who get things and say, don't you wish you had a car like me? No, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the well-intentioned people who said, you're my friend, you're my sister, you're my this, I'm looking out for you. You don't have to take the bus. I'll drive you there. And no, 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 no. I'll just, whatever. Crazy. Infinite Redbone, my name is Angela. I ran into your channel watching Tony Gaskins, and I thought this beautiful Black woman spoke facts. You are so sweet. Thank you so much, Infinite Redbone. I appreciate you saying that. And the fact that my channel comes on after Tony Gaskins, that says something about my channel. So thank you very much for that. Thank you, YouTube, for the algorithm, because I know who he is, too. I see some of his videos, been out for a long time, so that's awesome. And thank you so much for that compliment. Lovely Doll, I went to church meeting for women and they were so nasty and mean, pathetic. It's very awkward when you go to somewhere where you would think, again, I'm not saying this in any kind of way, but Christian women, spiritual women, women of faith, because of the standard we have, you would think that we would be like top tier, like we should know better. And sometimes it's not like that. Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't matter the environment. You can still come across it in every setting. Tabitha Barnes, it's all because of toxic climate we live in. It breeds competitiveness and jealousy. Absolutely. Like, I don't seek to compete with anybody. You know who I compete with and who you should compete with? Compete with yourself. Compete with the old version of who you used to be. Compete with the woman you used to be compared to how you want to be. That's the only competition. Like, I don't have time to compete with somebody. That's like trying to compete with air. Like, what's the point? Like, what will you accomplish from competing with another woman? And a lot of times women are trying to compete where they don't compare. Like, the lives are different. Like, I just don't get it. I've never been that kind of woman who felt like I need to compete with somebody else. Now, when it comes to business, you will always have some kind of level of competitiveness. Especially being on YouTube. I don't compete per se, but you have to keep up with certain things. It's technical issues, algorithms and subject nature and all that kind of stuff. It's different in business. The only place for competition, in my opinion, is business. But when it comes to just how you live your life, who has time for that? And when you compete in business, you can compete without tearing somebody to shreds. You can compete without destroying somebody else's business. You can do business and be successful ethically. You can hold on to your ethics while still being successful in business. The way I see it. Yep, but have you gotten the books? How to Be a Feminine Woman, the blueprint. If you have not gotten the book, it's available on Amazon. Girl on Girl Wars, Jealousy and Envy Amongst Women. Get that book. And How to Detox from Toxic People. All of the books are on Amazon, and I'll always have them in the description box here of each video. Thank you so much for all of your Cash Apps. Those of you who support the channel, who support me directly, thank you very much. I get your Cash Apps. I am so grateful for this community. And, we're almost heading towards 20,000 subscribers. So I'm looking like, how is this happening? I'm very thankful. When I started this channel, I had the intent to help and encourage women, and it just kind of blew up from there. So I'm very happy. I appreciate you all. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. And once again, Shanquella Robinson, she is not a verb. She's not an action word. She is a young lady who did not deserve what happened to her. And we can all benefit and learn from that traumatic experience so that it does not happen to us. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Video will be posted this afternoon. Part 2 into dealing with jealous female bosses and how to handle it. I know that didn't vibe with everybody because it doesn't apply to everybody, but this is something you need to know, especially if you're a woman in the workforce, how to handle jealous female bosses. So that's going to be posted maybe in an hour or so. All right. Like and subscribe if you have not already done so. You are very welcome. Thank you very much for being here. Take care.